Morgan Geekie got a hat trick, and Mason Lohrei came to the rescue to score the game winner to give the Bruins a long-awaited win in regulation over the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's talk about it on a brand new episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Smoked Bee. Today is Friday, March 1st, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on Apple, Spotify, Pocket Casts, whatever podcast app you use. We're also on YouTube. And we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which means your favorite team every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. It was a bit touch and go for the Boston Bruins last night as they amassed a 3-goal lead that they eventually blew. Thankfully, they were able to get the win in regulation, and we did not need extra time last night against the Vegas Golden Knights. Quick reminder before we get into it, you can follow the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. And it was Morgan Geekie who had the majority of the points last night for the Boston Bruins, recording his first career NHL hat trick, setting a new career high in goals as well in the process with his 11th, 12th, and 13th goals of the season to help the Bruins win by a score of 5-4. Now, his third goal put the Bruins up 4-2 late in the second period. Of course, as has been the trend lately, the Vegas Golden Knights were able to come tie it up. The tying goal was on a shorthanded effort from Chandler Stevenson, but thankfully, mercifully, Mason Lohrei jumped to the rescue and scored the game winner. Just an electric shot past Aiden Hill, who had an uncharacteristically and fortunately leaky night for the Bruins. And it was Lohrei who comes through with the game winner. Morgan Geekie, he was signed last summer from Seattle and was told that he'd get a better chance at boosting the offense here. He'd be given more opportunities with Boston than he had in a depth role over in Seattle. And he has made good on those opportunities with this hat trick. He said it's something you don't ever really think about coming into a game, but it's always fun. It was his 235th NHL game, his first career hat trick. Especially, of course, when you get 2 points, it was good to close that one out, especially the way we finished the last couple of games, end quote. I would have felt awful for Geekie if he got the hat trick and the Bruins ended up losing. It's that much more special when you get it in a win. Lohrai's go-ahead goal, just electric. Loved the celly afterwards as well. Lohrei said, at the beginning of the year, Bruins coach Jim Montgomery said every 10 games, the league gets harder. And he said that's the truth. Definitely deeper into the season here. Games seem like they mean a lot more. Going out there and executing and getting wins is awesome. And it was particularly nice to see Lohrei get the game winner. We want these young guys to be getting experience in these pivotal games. And we'll talk about that more later on with a guy who should be called up. The Bruins, like I mentioned, led 3-0 after the first period. 4-3 entering the third, before Vegas tied it. Across Boston's previous 6 games, the Bruins have squandered a third period lead to go past regulation, and 4 of them wound up losing 3. Again, thankfully, the Bruins were able to get the regulation win in this one. He said to be able to overcome again, giving up a lead, but to come through. This is Jim Montgomery. He said he thought in the third period, the Bruins carried the play for the majority of it. Nice to be able to see the second power play unit come through in a big way. Unfortunately for me, I had Mason Lohrei on my fantasy bench last night, which was tough. That's a tough one. Jesper Boqvist scored again, his fourth to keep his recent offensive streak going on a beautiful feed from Jacob Lauko. Kevin Shattenkirk offered 2 assists from the back end as well. He's been in and out of the lineup lately, but 2 assists. Charlie McAvoy played amazing as well in 26 minutes and 45 seconds of ice time, leveling 9 hits officially. He had 3 shots on goal. He was fantastic. And of course, David Pastrnak chipped in with 2 assists to increase his team leading point total. Trent Frederick, Charlie Coyle, Danton Heinen, Jesper Boqvist, and Jakob Lauko, each chipping in points as well. So the Bruins, winners last night against the Vegas Golden Knights. And, perhaps they were motivated by their former head coach, Bruce Cassidy, coming in and saying how it was his first visit to Boston since Vegas won the Cup last year, and how it was nicer to come back with a ring in tow. I'm sure that provided a bit of bulletin board material for the Boston Bruins. I wasn't too mad about it because, the consensus was we didn't want Cassidy fired in the first place. It worked out for him, certainly. It's worked out for the Bruins in terms of regular season success, at least. Jim Montgomery, a great head coach. He's reached 100 wins for the Bruins already just in his second season. And it's worked out for both teams. I mean, obviously more for Vegas, but still. It was a pretty even game. Shot attempts wise, Vegas had a slight advantage, 50.8%. Shots, they had a 53% advantage. Scoring chances, about 52%. Expected goals, though, it was 57.5 advantage for Vegas. Jeremy Swayman making 32 saves and slightly outplaying Adin Hill at the other end of the ice. 889 save percentage for Swayman, 844 for Hill. So not a banner night for either goalie, but thankfully Swayman got the better of it. Up next for the Bruins is a game against the Islanders on Saturday, and we'll preview that one later on. Coming up, we'll discuss another young guy that should be making an impact for the Boston Bruins, and we're not sure why he's still down in the AHL. We'll discuss that here coming up as the podcast continues. The NFL season is over, but Major League Baseball is right around the corner. NHL is in full swing, as is the NBA. And you can get buckets of bets in over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. It's also available for hockey, baseball coming up as well. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, we recently launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today. It's now also available on the Amazon Fire TV app in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts, plus our national show hosts covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Yesterday, the Bruins made a bit of a curious roster move, sending Anthony Richard down to the AHL and leaving that roster spot empty. At the moment, they have 12 forwards up, 7 defensemen, and 2 goaltenders. So that's 2 below the max of 23. Now, the reason he was sent down prior to last night's game is because if he had played one more game, then his waiver exemption would be gone. So perhaps they're either sending him down to the AHL in order to preserve that and see if they're able to add prior to the trade deadline and not risk losing him for nothing if there's no space on the roster. Or the plan is just to recall him after the trade deadline if they don't make any moves. He had been pretty good in his time with the Bruins and proved that he was, up to the task in terms of playing at the NHL level. Now, what it leaves the Bruins with is projected deadline cap space or current cap space of $832,500. So that would allow them to technically recall a guy who is in the AHL at the moment, slightly lacking cap space to recall Fabian Lysell. That would be the guy that I want to see up with the Bruins right now. His cap hit is $863,333. So the Bruins need another $30,000 in cap space in order to make that work. They could send Justin Brazeau down and recall Lysell and have him as their 12th forward. We'll see what, if anything, they do today corresponding to the move they made yesterday. Are they just going to ride with the 12 forward, 7 defensemen until the trade deadline and see what they can do? Or will they make some other moves? But Lysell is the guy that I want to see up right now. He's played 49 games, 15 goals, 28 assists for 43 total points. And you see what Logan Stankoven is doing in Dallas. He scored 3 goals in his first 4 games at the NHL level. And you can just see right there the kind of impact some of these younger guys can make. Stankoven comes in, immediate impact for the Dallas Stars. He's got 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points in 4 games. And he's the guy that was selected, 20 spots behind our boy Fabian Lysell. Among players in the first round of the 2021 NHL draft, there's only 4 players selected above Lysell that have yet to make their NHL debuts. You have Tyler Boucher in Ottawa, a goaltender in Detroit, and Sebastian Cossa. You have Chaz Lucius, Winnipeg, and Fedor Svechkov with the Nashville Predators. And then it's Lysell, who is drafted 21st overall. You have guys who were drafted behind him, a guy like Wyatt Johnston, who's played 144 games so far for Dallas. Matthew Nyes, selected 57th overall. He scored last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Stankoven, like I mentioned. You have guys who have been called up and have made impacts from this draft class. Joshua Roy, even with Montreal, 5th round pick. He's got 1 goal, 5 assists in 15 games. It's time to give Lysell a shot here. Like I mentioned, they do need to clear a bit of cap space in order to make that happen. But there's no reason why he should not be up at the moment. And I refer to a tweet from Bruins fan Clark Lyons at CNL77. He tweeted this morning, of players born in the 2000s, this is the AHL leading scorers list. Maverick Bourque, Logan Stankoven, Georgi Merkulov, Fagemo, and Fabian Lysell. Lysell is the second youngest on the list by a month, and the only other 2003 born player in the top 50 is Zach Leroux, who's 43rd. So it's beyond time to give Lysell a shot. He was called out earlier this season by Providence head coach Ryan Muganel. He's responded very well. He has been playing more responsibly without the puck, and he is a creator. He could come in. Recently, the Bruins have been kind of carried by their bottom six. Boqvist has made an impact. Brazo and Richard have made impacts lately. Lauko came in last night and set up a goal. They need something in the top six to get that group going, and Lysell could be that guy. He's on a real point streak here. He's got 5 points over his last 4 games. He had 7 shots 2 games ago or 3 games ago, 14 shots over his last 3 games, 18 shots over his last 4 games. That's more than 4 shots per game. The Bruins could use that kind of firepower. They're regularly being outshot. So I say call him up, see what happens. If he sticks, then you have a guy that can step in internally and you don't have to give up anything on the trade market. This is why you have first round picks. You have a guy right there who could bring in some firepower, bring him up and see what he can do over the next few games prior to the trade deadline. The Bruins have, I believe, at least 4 games prior to the deadline. They play tomorrow against the New York Islanders. Then they play Monday, Tuesday in Toronto, then host Edmonton, Thursday hosting the Maple Leafs. So that's 4 games that you could have Lysell have a bit of a look here before the trade deadline. I say call him up and see what happens. If it doesn't pan out in this tryout period, then send it back. But put him in position to succeed, unlike you did with Georgi Merkulov earlier this season. Tomorrow, the Bruins are in Long Island to take on those Islanders, and we'll preview that game here as the podcast continues. If you're looking for tickets for your next sports, theater, comedy, music experience, there's no better place than Game Time. The fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your events near you with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and a best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All in prices, show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal. And if you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Game Time, last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. Bruins are hitting the road for a mini 2-game road trip beginning tomorrow on Long Island, where they will take on the Islanders, who are coming off a pretty impressive win last night over the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings were red hot coming into this one, and it wasn't a case of Ilya Sorokin really stealing one, because the score, I believe, was 5-3. So the Red Wings still got their points, but the Islanders come up with 5 goals against Detroit. Alex Lyon had been playing very, very well, but this one got away from them. And the Islanders coming in with a, slight chance of making the playoffs, looking to build off this win over Detroit and really get back in the mix. As things stand, they are 6 points back of the Lightning for the second wildcard spot, with the Devils to jump, but they do have 3 games in hand on Tampa as well. So the point percentages are very, very close. 542 for New Jersey and the Islanders compared to 565 for Tampa, and Pittsburgh actually and Washington are higher in terms of point percentage just slightly. 544 for Pittsburgh, 543 for Washington, 542 for New Jersey, and the Islanders. So a bunch of teams in the mix here looking to get back in the Eastern Conference playoff picture by bumping out the Lightning, who, perhaps have kind of hit a wall when it comes to their Stanley Cup contention, despite Nikita Kucherov's best efforts. This will be the third and final meeting between the Bruins and Islanders this season. Boston won 5-2 back in November. They won 5-4 in a shootout on December 15th, thanks to one of those patented sweeper goals from David Pastrnak. Matt Barzal is always a guy to watch for obvious and tired reasons. He's got 6 points over his last 5 games, including 4 assists. The Bruins led with scoring by David Pastrnak, 7 points over his last 5 games, although Morgan Geekie red hot with the 4 goals, including last night's hat trick. Islanders are 5-3-2 over their last 10, coming off wins over Dallas in overtime and Detroit. So pretty impressive wins there. The Bruins are 3-2-5, looking to ride this win over Vegas into the weekend. I should add, despite the fact they're 3-2-5, they are on a 7-game point streak here for what those loser points are worth. Ilya Sorokin, of course, always strong in net. He's got a .909 save percentage, which is a bit below what you would expect from the Vezina candidate. It was Jeremy Swayman in net last night. We'll see if the Bruins go back to Linus Ullmark. Both have been very good this season. .913 save percentage for Ullmark. Swayman is at .919 after last night's game. The Islanders, not a particularly strong offensive team. They rank 22nd in goals allowed per game, 21st in goals for per game. The Bruins are top 10 in both those categories, 7th in goals allowed per game, and 9th in goals for. So as much as we talk about the Bruins offense, they are still a top 9 team in terms of goals per game here as Bessie makes an appearance. Boston's power play is 8th. The penalty kill is 9th. Islanders penalty kill dead last in the NHL at 32nd, where their power play is 12th. Always seems to be entertaining when the Bruins and Islanders face off. Of course, the Matt Barzal storyline will hang over them. And the Islanders looking to get back in the playoff race while the Bruins looking to build off this game last night against Vegas. Be back on Monday to bring you a full recap and a preview of next week's action. Do subscribe to the Locked On Boston Bruins YouTube channel, because if there's any breaking news over the weekend, I'll be sure to post something up there. Please do take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other. My weekend is going to be full of basketball. Guelph Storm game tonight, which should be fun. And we'll talk to you again here on Monday on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.